CYB 670, Project 3, Step 12, Lessons Learned, Contributions by Dawn Salvan for Group 5 of the United Kingdom. The Five Eye Alliance Incident Response Team compiled an intelligent debriefing to provide summit nation participants with accurate and timely details about multiple cybersecurity incidents that occurred at the summit. This is the outcome from the intelligent briefing and its lessons learned, followed by recommended mitigations and remediations nations can take to improve overall summit cooperation and security. The incidents and recovery included the following cyber attacks. Early on in the summit, participant nation networks experienced a network denial of service type of attack from floods of UDP packet traffic congesting the network. The cause of the traffic was isolated to a pair of specific computer systems, one targeting the other, and was compounded by numerous miscellaneous protocol packet traffic, such as those used in gaming, IoT, industrial controls, Wi-Fi, base stations, etc., etc. The network was recovered by isolating and quarantining the specific computers generating all of the UDP traffic, as well as filtering the miscellaneous protocols. The recommendation at that time was breaking up the network into segments, or virtual local area networks, VLANs, to control and isolate network packet traffic. Situation report number 1 documented a ransomware incident as a result of the HR benefits coordinator opening an email attachment in a phishing email, which contained a specially crafted message that looked like a legitimate message with an attached Excel spreadsheet billing invoice file. Once opened, it set in motion the downloading and execution of ransomware, which encrypted critical files. The variety of the ransomware was Revton, which has been around since 2012, and there exists a known solution using several white hat hacking tools to decrypt the files, but it's a complex, tedious process to recover unrecoverable files. Ideally, systems infected by ransomware will still need to be blown away and re-imaged because the file decryption tools do not remove the ransomware, but only recover the files. Situation number 2 was a continuation or propagation of SITREP number 1. However, after the report was written, several malware variants were discovered and identified. Their details have been captured and will be shared at the end of this lessons learned report for technical support systems teams to use to search for them, their hashes, and their other details on their networks to find, quarantine, and eradicate them. Situation report number 3 was a series of security violations and suspicious activities. The violations were handwritten passwords taped on the inside of a laptop, and several unsecured USB storage devices in an open workspace. Then an unlabeled USB was found inside of a server cabinet, and a user account was created on the same server without any evidence of administrative change control. The digital forensics team collected the USBs as evidence for their analysis, and no conclusion has been drawn yet on these cases because it is still under investigation, but was discussed because of the security violations. The incident response team at the Five Eye Alliance Summit consists of multinational digital forensic teams and technical support teams. These teams were dispatched and tasked to collect evidence, followed by the desktop technical support team to re-image and restore ransomware and malware infected computer systems to their last known good backups. Digital forensic teams are very thorough in preparing images and their chain of custody documents for storage in fire safes repurposed as evidence lockers. Together, these teams are available to help nations investigate and restore operations where needed. The areas that need improvement covers business continuity planning, disaster recovery, and then all of the recommendations for mitigation and remediation of the ongoing cyber attacks at the summit. Business continuity planning, BCP, and disaster recovery, DR, are frequently used interchangeably, but they are different in their purpose. BCP is for continued uninterrupted operations despite disruptions. DR is for failover or recovery. DR includes redundancies and backups. BCP is a long-term strategy that focuses on sustaining operations during and after disruptions. DR applies for the immediate need to recover from disruptions that deny access to resources for an extended period of time. DR supports BCP. Having both a BCP and DR plan prepares nations for the unexpected. The lessons learned recommendations can be subdivided into the following categories of people, policies, and technical controls. The recommendation for people are to provide them with security awareness training. The strongest emphasis is on email best practices to avoid and prevent scams and phishing techniques from succeeding. Phishing is the #1 cause of data breaches. Security awareness training should also cover credential and password security best practices, such as not writing down passwords where others can find them. The next people recommendation is to not permit credential sharing. Credential sharing bypasses accountability, such as in SITREP number 3 case, where it was not clear who last used the laptop and the USBs left unsecured in an open area. Any administrator on the network should have a second user account strictly used only for administrative tasks. Then all user accounts should require multi-factor authentication, combining 2 out of any of the following factors of something you know, something you have, something you are, and even someplace you are. Policy recommendations are to use administrative change control to request to make changes and then have them approved in advance of the change. Change control is a systematic approach to manage all changes. Change control documents the change purpose and details such as the date and specific actions to be performed, where approvers can then track changes and look for any conflicts or other reasons the change should or should not occur or be delayed. Once approved, the change can be carried out and cross-referenced with activities and events captured by logging and monitoring. Compliance is adhering to the technical standards and controls for managing risks, which follow predefined standards and frameworks such as NIST, HIPAA, Sarbanes and Oxley, and ISO 27000 series frameworks. Certification is the assurance that controls are validated to be met and acceptable by a distinguished certification authority. Technical recommendations start with taking a look at hardware and software. Secure hardware so servers are inaccessible except to trusted vetted staff. Most networking and server systems should be secured in data centers where access can be restricted to those authorized to access to work on networking and server equipment. Where possible, peripherals other than those required for keyboard, mouse, and monitors should be disabled. They can be disabled in the BIOS or through technical controls that audit and alert on I/O events through USB ports or other system peripherals. Removable media such as USB thumb drive devices and other external interfaces that can contain data should be properly secured and labeled. Don't leave USB devices or remote media laying around unsecured. Instead, store them in safes or other secured locations. Offline or cold backups and redundant off-site isolated systems are necessary and may be the only way for restoring data in the event of a fast replicating ransomware or other destructive malware. Software technical recommendations start with using secure software development or design lifecycle SDLC models which bake in security throughout development and delivery of applications. Common SDLC models which include security in their design and development are DevSecOps, Intuitive, and Spiral models. Email requires software controls such as spam filters, or mechanisms which mark or tag all external or foreign emails as external email to bring attention to them as email that was received outside of an organization, so users will be more cautious and skeptical with handling them. Digital certificates and signatures should be added to email for non-repudiation. Software automation of patch management, log collection, alerting, vulnerability scanning will set up system security and its auditing and alerting to problems on autopilot. Automating security should be staged so that test and development systems are patched first, and then after about a week, it is followed by the patching of production systems. This way, if problems manifest, then there's time to pause automation and troubleshoot or obtain hot fixes before applying to production. Website security using encryption such as SSL, TLS, HTTPS should be mandatory. Websites without this type of security pass content in clear text, so are vulnerable and visible to snooping and sniffing and other man-of-the-middle types of attacks. The next set of technical recommendations should be part of any security stack for network, server, and client system endpoints. The security stack common theme that should be applied to all network systems, servers, and client endpoint computers are firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention, monitoring, logs and audit, and access control. Firewalls and intrusion detection and prevention applications are powerful tools for monitoring and filtering packet traffic by port and protocol, so should exist at all system layers from network devices through to endpoints. Everything should be continuously monitored and logged as it would be required for audits. Then there should be access control using formal methods such as Microsoft Active Directory, which manages user and group objects in a domain. A domain is defined as a security boundary. Role-based access will control access using groups with the appropriate rights. Using Active Directory or groups to control access based on roles helps reduce administrative overhead, making it more practical to use than managing permissions one by one. Then, access control should be restricted by least privilege. This will make it harder on credential thieves to exploit systems if they only have restricted rights because of least privilege. The final set of technical recommendations are those unique to networks in comparison to server and desktop endpoints. Networks should be configured into layers of VLANs that segment networks to separate network traffic based on purpose. It's a technique called defense in depth. Virtually and physically separating networks controls and limits lateral movement and propagation. It may not prevent it entirely, but it will make it more difficult for intruders, ransomware, and malware to move around the network. External or private VLAN networks would be the most generous networks, permitting direct internet access, hosting website front ends, and Wi-Fi. Meanwhile, the most interior private VLANs would be the most restrictive. Private VLANs would contain servers or other devices that do not require direct internet access. Then there are the additional VLAN network layers for user computers and their applications. Wi-Fi should also be secured by changing and hiding default Wi-Fi SSIDs and enforce the use of SSL VPNs and access control for users on Wi-Fi to access internal VLAN layers. Honeypots and threat hunters are encouraged to penetration test to find and quarantine malware and test nation security. Inform the multinational digital forensics team about weaknesses found in other countries. networks and systems to help them make security improvements. Servers and desktop endpoint recommendations are to have software inventory and controls to monitor applications or services installed and running on systems. This way, applications can be monitored and controlled to avoid problems with shadow IT or others who are staff not on dedicated digital forensic or technical support teams from installing non-essential applications. Logical peripheral controls and auditing applications can monitor and log data copied to and from systems in case the details are required for an investigation. Then disable any unused services to remove them from being an alternative attack vector. Many intruders who manage to break into a network will live off the land and use tools and services readily available. Therefore, disabling or removing these will make it more difficult for intruders. Malware variants. The following two slides show some of the malware variants to be aware of and to filter or hunt for them to shore up defenses can detect and quarantine them. Signature-based filters such as antivirus or anomaly-based detection applications can be checked to see if they are able to recognize them by looking them up on malware analyst websites such as VirusTotal. Not all of these malware variants are captured by all commercial antivirus or malware tools, so it is important to follow recommendations outlined until commercial vendors are able to patch or catch them. Table 2 of malware variants to look out for in Summit networks as a matter of information. Finally, the lessons learned conclusions boil down to the following parting recommendations: that no system is safe. Don't take security for granted. Security should not end outside of each nation or its organization. Security should be the highest priority at all times. That same level of ethics in maintaining the highest level of security possible is required because evil is lurking for profit or other motivations to take advantage of any weakness, including zero-day or other unknown vulnerabilities. The primary factor leading to unsafe systems are humans. Train every human to be cyber safe with mandatory security awareness training. Encourage everyone to communicate and share information to help each other improve overall security. Then keep everything current with the latest patches and versions, and then automate where possible so it can be set in case the humans forget. The final lessons learned can be paired together, which are to implement routine monitoring and testing and auditing and alerting. Together, these will provide the best effort in keeping the Five Eyes Nation Summit networks and systems secure.